My name's Mark Burnell and I'm a horse dentist, and I'm going to explain today about caring for horses' teeth. There are two main reasons for doing horses' teeth. The first is to help the horse eat its food more efficiently, and the second is to make the horse feel more comfortable whilst it's wearing a bit. So I'm going to give this horse, this is Lucy, some hay. We're going to watch how Lucy eats, and we're also going to take this hay out of Lucy's mouth after she's eaten a few mouthfuls. Now, horses evolved into their current form about 60 million years ago. We've only domesticated them in the last 2,500–3,000 years, and we've certainly modified their shape and their type to suit our purposes. But the basic thing underlying it all is horses can turn this long stuff, grass, into a digestible form of energy, so they have enough energy to run away from predators, to run around with their friends, and hopefully reproduce. Now, Lucy's quite happy chewing this hay. What she's actually doing is crushing these long bits of fibre, and there's a piece of ryegrass. But before she can swallow that, and she's going to swallow some food in a minute, and we're going to see a bolus or a ball of food go down her throat. There we are. And there goes a ball of food down into her stomach. Now, between swallowing and her doing some poo is about a 40-hour process. If this is chewed incompletely before she swallows it, that is going to affect how much of this she can digest and gain energy to do all the things that Lucy is required to do. So we're going to have a look at what has happened to this food in these couple of minutes of us standing here. Steady, girl. Now, this is called a gag, and we use this as a professional horse dentist in order to hold the horse's mouth open and do our job, which is basically rasping sharp points of horses' teeth. Steady, Lucy. Okay. It's all right, Floss. You are a good girl. And what Lucy's done, if we look at this food, she's wet it, mixed it with saliva, and it actually smells quite sweet. And you can see all these little short bits of fibre here. So what she has is a really effective food processing unit in her mouth. Those fibres went in this long. And within the first couple of chews, she's made them this long, and finally this long, and even finer, which is approximately the length of a piece of chaff. So here we have a chaff cutting mechanism which evolved 60 million years ago to convert fibre into a digestible form. Where this fibre is finally broken down in the most effective place is the large intestine. Bacteria will help break this down, and fatty acids will be released as part of that digestion process, and then we get the energy from this dried grass or hay. So her teeth, the fact that she can chop this food up so finely to a point where it can be swallowed and digested, we know her teeth are fairly functional before we even feel her teeth. Here we have some whole oats with some corn and sunflower seed. Now, we've done some research in Victoria at the University of Melbourne looking at how horses eat and how horses eat different types of food, whether it's grain or hay. And horses actually change their chewing motion according to what they eat. And we're going to hear some really funky noises out of Lucy's mouth in a minute as she crushes these grains. And in order for Lucy to digest these grains, she has to break this outer casing open. If she swallows those grains whole, that'll go through her digestive tract and not be digested at all. And you'll see whole grains in her droppings. Now, Lucy looks pretty happy because she's actually getting a sugar fix. The corn that was mixed with the oats is rich in starch, and the corn is being mixed with saliva, and in particular an enzyme called amylase, and is getting converted to sugars. Good girl, Lucy. Before she swallows it. So if we have a look at this stuff, anyone who's had Uncle Toby's oats for breakfast ever would know what this looks like. Good girl. It smells sweet. There we have the amylase mixing with the starches, but she's broken all those fibres open and it's ready to be digested, and Lucy's fairly happy. My job as a horse dentist is to simply rasp the parts of the horse's teeth off that they can't naturally wear off. Horses have what they call a 3/4 bite. The lower jaw rotates against the upper jaw, and in that grinding process of either breaking down hay, grass or grain, they actually wear away the grinding surface of the teeth. The outside edges of the upper teeth get quite sharp, the inside edges of the lower teeth get quite sharp. We rasp those off and just help the horse more efficiently grind in that sideways motion. The sharp points can cause ulcers, especially where your noseband on your bridle goes, if the noseband is too tight or if the teeth are quite sharp. So it's important for horse comfort and for function as an eating mechanism that everything works properly. This is Lucy, and we're now going to start rasping Lucy's teeth. The diet that Lucy's on, she gets her teeth checked once a year. My job is to simply rasp off what Lucy can't naturally wear off. So I'll just introduce this rasp to Lucy. These rasps are made of tungsten carbide steel, which is a fairly hard substance. The other rasps are actually sharpened up with a diamond cutting wheel. Horses' teeth are the hardest structure in their body. They're harder than their bones. So hard that they actually flab fracture. The enamel is quite a brittle material, even though it's hard, and it will shatter when it gets too long. So there's a point at which horses' teeth get sharp and get no sharper, which is what happens in the wild. People often ask what happens in the wild. Most brumbies, wild horses, only live to be 7 or 8 years of age. There was a study done by the federal government looking at our brumbies as a feral nuisance, and their life expectancy unfortunately isn't that good. The white stuff that you can see on that rasp is actually sharp enamel points I've started to take off Lucy's upper molars. It is important that you use an accredited and insured equine dentist, and if not, a properly trained veterinarian. If anyone comes onto your property who sedates your horse who is not a veterinarian, they're breaking at least 2, if not 3 laws, and you may find that if something goes wrong, that you probably have no claim with insurance. It's fairly rare that you need to get a horse sedated in order to do its teeth, and in that case, legally it must be done by a properly trained veterinarian. In the situation where she was on a high-grain diet, the harder you feed a horse, say if it gets 2 hard feeds a day like an eventer or show horse, or in some cases a race horse, you'd need to check her teeth more often. Some race horses are checked every 8 to 10 weeks their whole racing life because of the high-grain diet. Most performance horses on 2 hard feeds you'd need to look at least twice a year. One of the many myths you'll hear about horse dentistry is that lay dental practitioners like myself struggle to get up around the last cheek tooth. That's where the first ulcer will appear. These tools were specifically designed to get up around that last cheek tooth on an unsedated horse, standing here quite relaxed. And you can see it's a fairly thin profile and at a special angle to get to that point exactly. Once again, the white material here is excess enamel, dentine and cementum, which I have rasped off this mare's mouth. It is important to talk to your horse dentist about what you do with your horse. If your horse is going to wear a bit, the type of job that we need to do on their teeth is vastly different to, say, a brood mare who would never wear a bit. We need to change the shape of the teeth nearest the bit to make it as comfortable for the horse as possible while it's being either ridden or driven. Now, if we have a look in Lucy's mouth, you'll see we have the upper jaw, the lower jaw and the tongue. There is no room for a bit. So it's crucial that your bit fits, that it's comfortable, and that your horse's teeth are done appropriately. It's got good bite, good occlusion, and Lucy's ready to be ridden today.